Hi, I'm Callum from Tyne Valley Motorhomes, and this is a handover of the Adria Twin 640 SGX. So on the driver's side, at the back of the vehicle, you have your freshwater intake. So you'd need to carry yourself a hose pipe with a few hose pipe connections, as the site just provides a brass tap. The habitation key will allow you to lock and unlock the blue cap, which is your filler cap. Pop the hose into here and wait until it overflows, or until you're happy there's enough water on board, which you can see at any time on the control panel, before putting the cap back on and locking it, just so that no one can tamper with your freshwater supply. At the top of the van, you've got your reversing camera, which is built into the high level brake lights around. Opening the back of the van, you get a spacious garage area with D-rings in all four corners, along with a partition board which is clipped up at the moment, but that clips onto the front there, and there's a little turnbuckle just at the front to the side of the washroom where you can clip it up so that anything in the back, bikes, boots, dogs, anything like that, you can keep them back here safely and securely so they're not going to roll into the van. But this side you do have your LPG locker, so this is liquid petroleum gas. So this takes 2 bottles, so we'll connect the bottle and I'll show you how to put the bottle on board the vehicle. So to connect the pigtail, which runs from the regulator here at the top to the bottle, it's left to tighten, right to loosen, opposite ways with it being gas. Then you turn it on at the top. That should start the supply of gas to the item that you're wanting to light on gas, but make sure if you're still not getting gas through that the crash valve and the second motion regulator hasn't gone off. If that has gone off, it would pop out. You would press and hold for 10 seconds, reset to make sure it goes flush, and you'll be getting gas through with the vehicle. You can carry 2 6 kilograms in here. The van runs off propane, which is your orangey red bottles, not your blue bottles, which is butane, because that freezes in the winter. The motorhomes are all set up for propane. So your freshwater fill up is directly underneath this window here at the back of the van. If you lift this panel off, you've got your freshwater tank. So you can access the tank here by removing the blue cap, but you can also drain down the freshwater tank. So you would turn here and you can drain the freshwater tank down. If you turn it 3/4 of the way, it'll drain out all the water bar 20 litres, so that's enough to drive around with, stop and have a few cups of tea, use the toilet on a longer journey, and still remain good payload and fuel consumption. Whereas if you drive around with a full tank, you're obviously going to eat into the payload and use a lot more fuel. But make sure it's fully closed to fill it up, make sure it's fully open in the winter and drained off if you've taken on a source of contaminated water, or you drain it off for the winter so that nothing freezes and causes any damage to the motorhome. Here you have your cassette locker, so if you push both buttons in, you'll be able to release the door. To get the cassette out, you'd lift the blue handle, slide the cassette out. There's a cap which needs to go onto here, which is inside the vehicle, but that would come off, so you would loosen that off. And then to dispose of it, you would start to pour the contents of the cassette and press the blue button. Pour the contents out. Once you've poured it out, put some water in, put the lid back on, give it a rinse, tip out again. And then the cap is a measuring stick of 120 ml. Some sites will want you to use green liquid as it's more environmentally friendly. Some sites will want you to use blue, just depends. Cap full of chemical into here, screw the cap back on, lie that back like there and push it back into the vehicle. But you do have wheels on it, so you can drag it along the ground instead of carrying it when it's heavy. Also in here, you've got this red key, and just located down here, you do have your wastewater outlet point. So this is anything that you put down a plug hole goes into the waste tank. To open the waste tank, you need to use the red key and turn it, so you can either open it or close it, and that will allow your wastewater out. But normally on the site you would drive over the motorhome service bay, which is normally a grid on the floor, a gully close to the verge as possible, to allow this out. You don't want to be driving around with the wastewater in the tank, because it's just going to add weight to the vehicle, which is going to use more fuel, and it's dirty water. What more can you do with it? That's your dirty water. Next week you've got this is your condenser for your wheel water heater, so that will drip little bits at a time. It's not a fault, it's just how it is. It's a condensing boiler. And here you do have, on this model, because it's got the diesel heating function, that is your exhaust for your diesel heater. To hook the vehicle up, whether you're charging it at home to get it ready for your trip, make sure you go away with fully charged batteries if you're wild camping or you've got your fridge on, or you're on a site. It's the same way of hooking the vehicle up. So you get your hookup lead, lift the collar, hook the vehicle up first, then the site, and do it in reverse order when unhooking, so that you're never walking around with a live cable in your hand. Beside the passenger door is the location for your fuel filler, which unlocks with the main habitation key, or vehicle key should I say. Underneath you've got your AdBlue, so it does 5,500 miles on a full tank of AdBlue, which is 19 litres on a Fiat Ducato. Once you've done about 4,000, 4,500 and you've got 1,000 miles left, it'll come up with a light saying AdBlue needed, 1,000 mile countdown, and it will take anywhere between 12 and 15 litres to fill back up. It's easier and a lot far cheaper to buy it on the pump, so take yourself off to a bigger petrol station or service station where they accommodate the bigger vehicles such as wagons and buses, and you'll be able to fill it off the pump for around £1.20 a litre, whereas you buy the drums for £30 at the petrol forecourt, unless you've got the use of likes of Costco or Aldi, where I've seen them for £10 for 10 litres, which is reasonable, whereas £30 for 10 litres is a bit extreme, whereas buying it on the pump is a little bit more cheaper. Coming in here, you do have your tyre pressures, so 5.5 bar, which is 79.5 psi, which is on the slam panel. You've got your mini battery isolation key. So this isolates the 12 volts, so if the vehicle's going into storage or on the driveway and you're not wanting the batteries to drain, you can turn it off, but it needs to be on to use the 12 volt system and the habitation side of the vehicle. Underneath the passenger seat, on the base at the front, if you open this up, this is a location of your leisure battery, which has your leisure battery fuses in here at the front. Underneath the floor is where your engine battery is, so it's not underneath the bonnet, it's underneath the cab floor. And then underneath the driver's seat front, you do have your electric block unit, which has your sun control, which is your solar controller, which is the black box at the front, but it also has all your 12 volt fuses there. So if there's any problems with 12 volt, try here before you try anywhere else, because if it's 12 volt and it's not working, it's going to be a fuse. So carry some spares with you. You can get them for likes of £8 to £10 on Amazon or eBay. A variety pack, put them in the glove box. If something happens, you can replenish the fuse. The bonnet release can be found on the side of the passenger dashboard, but the door does need to be opened. Pull the lever down and you'll be able to pop the bonnet. Under the bonnet, you do have your screen wash, which is in the top corner. 3 tabs lift this part of the panel off, and this fills your coolant, followed by your brake fluid. Your engine oil filler, there is no dipstick. It is a electric dipstick on the new Fiat Series 8. Comes through the dash when it needs oil. Paint code, no power steering, electronic steering rack again. That's a new thing for the new series of the Fiat cab. Earth for giving or receiving a jump start, and then just down beside the air intake, so which is your air filter, you've got this little oblong box. If you put your key in there, or a key or anything flat, you'll be able to lift that up. So if I use my key here, if you lift that up, you've got the positive contact for giving or receiving a jump start, which is just there. Weight plates here, so 3.5 ton gross vehicle weight with a tow bar, and the vehicle can't exceed 6 ton, whatever you tow them, which is your train weight. You've got a front and back axle weight there as well. To operate your 12 volt control panel, once you're inside the vehicle, if you press this button here, this turns it on. And then round the outside, you've got what everything gives you on the inside. So you've got your temperature outside, 23 degrees. Temperature inside, 29 degrees. You're currently hooked up, so you're on mains power. Your awning light on the outside of the van is turned on at the moment. It's charging your leisure battery. 100% fresh water, 0% waste, and the pump is on. However, if you use the buttons, so starting off with this one first, once you get into the vehicle, you'll want to put lights on. so you can turn them on and off. So that one is the interior lights, this one is the awning light, and you use the scroll here to scroll between the two. You've got your temperatures, 29 degrees outside, 22 degrees, or 29 degrees inside the motorhome, should I say, and 22 outside. Your settings, should you need them, which are all explained in the book what the settings does. The water pump, you can turn that on and off. That needs to be on to use any water appliance, tap, toilet, shower. If there's no water on board, don't turn the pump on because you're going to burn the motor out. This is your batteries. So you've got the vehicle battery and you've got the leisure battery. So that's currently a charge rate because it's 14 volt. No 12 volt battery has a resting rate of 14 volts. It's a charge rate. And it's currently drawing off it 0.83 of an amp. This one is your freshwater and wastewater levels. So your water levels, you've got 100% fresh, 0% waste. And then you press back and you go back to the control panel, but it all tells you around the outside, so you don't even need to go into it unless you want to select each individual thing. So to heat your water, which is off a gas water heater, which is powered by Whale, you've got the Snowflake, which is frost start, which keeps the water above 5 degrees freezing. So you would use this in the winter, but then again, you wouldn't waste your gas in the winter, so you would drain the vehicle down, so you don't really need this setting. Then you've got your gas water heater on, which is here. At the minute, this is showing how hot the water is. It needs to get right the way up to here till the water's at temperature. So that's like a 40 degree heat of water. Or then you've got like a boost setting, which is right the way around to here, which is a 60 degree of water. But normally you just leave it on that, press the gas. Blue means you've put it on, which is on standby. Once the gas comes through, that will go to orange, and that means it's lit. If you ever get a warning triangle, a warning exclamation mark down the side, there's a reset button here. But if you haven't had the gas on for a while, it's best that you light the hob just to draw the gas through, and then that will soon change to orange and start to heat the 10 litres of water in the boiler. So there you are, that's gone orange. It's starting to heat your water up to temperature. Wave your hand over the top. Once that goes right the way to here, your hot water is to temperature. You can have a shower, you can do the dishes. You've got hot water on board the vehicle. To work your Webasto smart controller, which again is a diesel heater, so heating the vehicle is off diesel. You need to make sure you've got a quarter of a tank of diesel or more in the main tank. Otherwise, they're on 2 different levels and it'll just draw air. So it means that you're never going to starve the engine of fuel. Completely off, press it once, goes to green. You can then adjust the temperature. It needs to be above the outside air temperature, and the thermostat is above it for this. So if the door's open, it's not going to work until the door's closed in the cold weather. I've set that to 28 degrees, that's the heating on. I can click again and I can choose the mode of the heater. So I've got Eco, which is 1 wavy line, Normal, which is 2, and Boost, which is 3. Normally it just sets itself away on 2, which is normal mode. You can choose a timer, or if you press the top, you can set a timer so you can time the heating to come on and off. And you've also got ventilation, so that's just like a recirculation. You've got 1 to 4 different levels. 3 max goes to blue. And what that does is it just puts the fan on and it recirculates the air around the vehicle. It's not cold air, so it's not going to help you in the summer, but if the van's up to temperature, you might just want to recirculate it to avoid using all the diesel. But the diesel uses a thimble size of fuel every 2 hours, so it's very light on what energy it uses. So at the back of the van you do have your drop down bed. So this is the bed in its lowest position, and there's a switch in the back corner just here if you want to use it from the back doors, or there's one above the sliding door which allows the bed to go up and down. There's also a resettable button here for the fuse, so if you get on the bed and it pops the fuse, you can press this reset here, which will allow the switch to work, whereas if you don't, you might just get clicking or the switch might be dead until you press this and it'll come back on. In the kitchen area, you've got 2 gas hobs for cooking. Make sure the lids are back and make sure everything is nice and cold before they go down, otherwise you will smash the glass. To use your kitchen tap, again, you've got to make sure the water pump's on and you get a flow of water. That's coming through warm there now, but we'll let that warm up to its fullest temperature. Underneath, you've got 2 gas isolation valves, so you've got a hob and you've got an oven. Make sure that the bottle's turned off when you travel. However, if there's a problem with gas, you can turn them so they're off now. But these are mainly for when the vehicle is annually habitation serviced. The technician will test each gas appliance. Underneath, you've got the choice of either a oven or a grill. So that's the grill away. Other way, that's the oven at the back, and you do have a handy little light as well. Pan drawer, storage at the bottom. Storage drawers here as well. Lift up worktop extension at the side, which if you press the front, you can bring it back down, but that's handy if you want to serve up or you've got a pan to go on there on a chopping board when you're in the middle of cooking, you can do. And above, you do have a 230 volt socket which will only work when hooked up. Your lights, push the cabinet open and you've got some storage above the cooker and the hob as well. To work the compressor fridge, which is from Thetford, you turn on here. You can then adjust the temperature, so 5 when pre-chilling, turn it down once you got your shopping into 3 or 4, because 5 can sometimes form ice, but you might want it on 5 when you first turn it on, so it gets down to temperature quickly. Once, if you're keeping this at home, the best thing to do is a few days before, hook the vehicle up, charge your leisure batteries, put your fridge on. You don't have to have it on 5, you can either have it on a steady 3 or 4. The night before, put your shopping in, or the afternoon before. Allow that to chill overnight, and then when you're ready to drive, everything's nice and cold in here. You're driving, it's only recirculating the fan on the fridge, so it's not getting any cooler. It's just recirculating the fan when you drive. When you turn the engine off, it goes back onto 12 volt on the end of the leisure battery side, and doesn't take the feed off the engine anymore because obviously the engine's turned off, and then it'll start to get cold again. You've got nighttime mode, which is this one here, so if it's on full temperature, because you're in a hot country, you can turn it on to nighttime mode, which reduces the decibels of the fridge so it's not humming all night, but it doesn't do that unless it's on full temperature. So if it's on 3, it won't do that. It'll only do that when on 4 or 5 on the temperature scale. Large fridge with freezer compartment. When you're not using it, there's a little blue clip, pop that into the middle and then rest the door upon it. Don't slam the door, rest it. It allows air to circulate in and out of the fridge to stop smells and bacteria from growing in the fridge when it's left unattended with the door shut. So under the hatch between the kitchen area and the washroom, you do have your drains for your lines. So if you lift these up when draining the van down, it'll stop any water from sitting in any pipes, the hot water and the cold water lines. It'll drain directly out underneath the van. However, you will need to put these back down once you fill the van back up to use it after winter, or whether you have the odd weekend away in the winter. Otherwise what will happen is you'll lose your water because it'll drain directly out underneath the vehicle. But you lift these up and the water will drain directly out underneath the chassis. Now in the washroom, first of all I'll tell you how to use the toilet. So making sure the pump's on, press the blue button here, which is your freshwater flush. And it's from your freshwater tank, so it doesn't come from anywhere else. It's not pink, it's just clean water. There's no place for pink liquid on a motorhome. However, I'll get onto that in a moment, how we can still use that. Pop a bit of water in before opening the blade. Use the toilet. Once you've used the toilet, give it a flush. If you've got any pink liquid, put some pink liquid in a spray bottle, spray the bowl and flush before closing the blade. Always get into a habit of closing the blade after use. Not only does it keep smells and things down in the cassette, but it'll stop any spillages if you drive with it open. When the cassette's full, down in the corner here, you've got a green indicator. That means the cassette's got room, it's empty. Once that slowly starts to go to red and then goes to a solid red, it indicates that it's full. It needs taken out the side of the vehicle and it needs emptied, rinsed and replenished with chemical. Your sink, again, now the hot water's warm, make sure the pump's on, you get a pressurised flow of water, you start to get the water through. And that's hot water there now. So that water is warming up the temperature. When you want to shower though, if you pop your hand at the top and pull this back, what that does is it blocks off the toilet area and gives you a shower cubicle where you have a shower head and a hanging rail for your wet coats and also your wet towels. Make sure in the winter you disconnect the shower head from the hose, lie the hose down and leave the mixer tap open. When you want to clean any of the plastic toilet, sink, shower surround, shower tray out with, no bleach, no harsh chemicals, no scourers, soapy water in a microfiber cloth, dishcloth is good enough to clean it all out because you'll cause no damage to it, whereas your harsh chemicals and scourers will cause damage to the finish in the washroom. So directly underneath your dinette seat you'll find the RCD on the vehicle for the mains trips. So if the vehicle's trip, try here before your main sight, but you tend to find that it's always going to be the main sight. But if you're not receiving power, try pressing the test button. If the test button trips, you've got power. If it doesn't, you're not receiving it, so check where you're hooked up to. And then if you lift this board up, under here you've got your drain for your boiler, so it's a little yellow toggle. It's in line, it's pointing to the front of the cab. When you want to drain it down in the winter to avoid the water from freezing, you would just turn that to the side of the van and the 10 litres of water will drain directly out underneath the vehicle. You would then leave all the taps open, remove the shower head from the hose, slide the hose down, turn the pump on for 10 seconds to blast any water out of any pipelines so that nothing freezes, and then when you come to reuse it, do it all in reverse. So close this, assemble your taps, shut them, fill the vehicle with cold water, fresh water, put your pump on, bleed it through the cold side first from the fresh tank, which you'll probably get pressure straight away. Hot side, it'll cough, splutter, make all sorts of noises until you get a pressurised flow. You've also got a little gauge here which is just at the back, so if I take the phone and just turn it here, this is your winter isolation, so it heats the tank off the air blown. So there's an air blown pipe beside your fresh water on this van. So what you need to do is if you lift that up, when you've got the heating system on, it takes a feed and blows hot air to the top of the tank, which will stop it from freezing in colder temperatures. But you lift it up for hot and down for cold is off. So hot's on, cold's off, that stops the water from freezing. You've also got a gas isolation valve at the back there for your wheel water heater on gas. The front cab is fitted with the 9-speed automatic gearbox alongside the Uconnect screen, which is Bluetooth and incorporates wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. But I can show you all of that tomorrow when you pick the vehicle up.